2-8 Tuesday, let's do some gun stuff. Trump's DOJ taking direct aim, dare I say, at Colorado's gun control agenda, suing both the state and the city of Denver over what it calls blatant violations of the Second Amendment, which they are. The administration says Denver's so-called assault weapons, not a thing, ban. The Colorado's magazine restrictions target firearms and accessories owned by millions of law-abiding Americans, and now the Civil Rights Division is fighting back in court. The woman leading the charge, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the DOJ, Harmeet Dhillon. All right, we've had you on a couple times. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. Colorado, they say you can't have them. You say yes. I agree with you.
Well, absolutely. So Denver and Colorado have two different restrictions that we've, as you say, taken aim at. In the case of Denver, they have this, fake term called assault weapons. And they use that to slant the public against a most commonly owned rifle in the United States. For example, the AR-15 is banned by this unlawful restriction. And the Supreme Court has made clear that commonly owned weapons that are used by law-abiding citizens for legal purposes are presumptively legal under the Second Amendment. So that is why we sued Denver. And then the following day, we sued Colorado for its similar use of semantics, saying that they're banning large capacity magazines. Well, Carl, the large capacity magazines in question are actually the standard issue magazines for many of these firearms. And so they're effectively outlawing so many millions of weapons that are used lawfully by United States citizens. So, I mean, you're effectively outlawing all AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles. If you can't use a large magazine with them, what is the point? And then secondly, even popular handguns like the Glock 17 is not usable when you have a 15 magazine capacity restriction. Yeah. And so this is really a backdoor way of banning these firearms that are popular and lawful, and we won't stand for it at the Department of Justice.
I mean, look, I'm not a Glock guy. I'm a SIG guy to the bone. However, Virginia is going to sign this law to ban Glocks. Connecticut already signed this law to ban Glocks. And I always said if they can ban AR-15s, they can ban any gun they want, and here they are. And Grant v. Lamont, which is the Connecticut version of what you got going on in Colorado, has been relisted for the 12th time by the Supreme Court. They haven't said no, but there's Maryland, California, Colorado now, I believe it's Virginia, and a couple other states, Illinois, that are all saying, You can't own AR-15s in these states, and they've all been sued, and it's all waiting to be heard. Why can't the Supreme Court just do this?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's very simple, and one reason when people beat up on me for not going after the nutbag states, Connecticut's laws, and the reason is we already have a ruling out of the First Circuit in that jurisdiction. So for purposes of Supreme Court jurisprudence, they don't really need multiple cases from a particular jurisdiction or circuit to be able to tee it up for a circuit split. That's the best way to get a case to the Supreme Court. And so what we've been doing at the DOJ is targeting those jurisdictions like Colorado, where there is no ruling in the circuit court. So in that case, the 10th Circuit. I've also argued this particular issue in the 7th Circuit. We're waiting for a ruling for almost a year now over there. And I know it's frustrating, but we don't need this case to be determined and taken up by the Supreme Court for every state. We need the United States Supreme Court to decide the issue. And I think that is absolutely going to happen. It's going to happen soon. We're doing our part at the DOJ to shepherd that along. And, in addition to, the ones that we've done so far, we just filed the first of its kind lawsuit by the United States in D.C., where we amended our attack on their assault weapons, so-called assault weapons ban, by also taking on their suppressor ban in the District of Columbia for law-abiding citizens. So I just heard from a state attorney general earlier today, Harmeet, you need to go a step further. Yes, step by step, we are going to take these things on, but there's a process and there's a method to our way of doing things.
Well, I can't think of a better person to have in your position right now, Harmeet. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having us.